So I have a confession, and it's very embarrassing. I have not worked out in 8 weeks.
What?
I know, it's bad. COVID's been very bad for my health. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses, running your business, it's hard.
Yeah, but we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about making a 6-figure income.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
And a bunch of it totally sucks, but let's get started.
So much of it sucks. And today is no different. Although today doesn't suck. Welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we are talking about life with COVID and the new normal. And if you threw up in your mouth a little bit just hearing that, know that I did saying it. I hate that term. But we do need to talk about everything from cleaning to client procedures to changing your menu. It's changing.
And we're going to talk about running your business on a shoestring budget, guys. We're going to get real and raw about this because seriously, if you can outlast right now, you will win.
Yes. And I do feel, and you've seen it, the businesses that are able to pivot and move quickly. And I will say as solopreneurs and being able to change our model or our menu and the quickness that we have because of our smaller size. And even for those of you who have larger businesses still, you're not a soup plantation, may she rest in peace. We can make quick decisions and change things. And that is going to work in our benefit right now for sure.
Absolutely. Speaking of words that I'm hating right now, pivoting. I've said it so many times and we've talked about it so many times, but it's super relevant. At this moment, being able to be agile and nimble and do all those things where you can just be like, okay, well, we're switching to this direction right now and go to your clients and be like, now we're going over here is something that you really, really need to be able to do.
I mean, even just being able to say new menu item. Right?
Exactly.
A new offering it's special and lean into that. If that's a silver lining, all the things you've wanted to try, now is the time.
It's true. So let's go ahead and get started. For this particular episode, I went to Alex and I'm like, hey, Alex. So I talked to a bunch of spa people and owners from actually all over the country who are getting ready to start up their business and practices again. A couple of people already started and kind of what's happening with the new regulations. So we are now filming this. What is this? May 8th? We're in the 8th? Yeah, we're May 8th. And Georgia has already started. They started up 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so what's that like to one of my mentees in Georgia? And she's like, it's a hot fucking mess. She's like, essentially what happened was the governor was like, hey guys, just get started. And they're like, how? What are we supposed to do?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then people called up and they're like, yeah, we want a book. And her books were full. And then the mayor was like, yeah, so if you want to work, what you're doing is essentially putting people at risk. And the quote she gave me was, it's like sending out your football quarterback without any gear on.
Yeah. That's what they said to her?
That's what the mayor said. And so she said, then all of a sudden, all of her people just stopped. They were like, no, we're not coming in. Never mind. Because it's too dangerous. We feel this is dangerous.
I've heard, so I have friends who also live in Georgia, and that's what they're all saying. I'm not going anywhere, even though the regulations have been lifted and the stay-at-home orders. I'm staying put.
Yeah. So she's like, she's us and employees need work, and so their state board went to them and they're like, okay, because of this, we have rules and regulations. And the rules and regulations were kind of like, okay, so you need to wear masks. The people who come in need to wear masks. The people need to be wearing their own clothes. No sheets on the beds. Okay. No extra clothing or anything. You need to make sure that there's time between clients and that nobody sees anybody and you can't spend more than 30 minutes in a room with people.
What? I didn't hear that. Wow. So
okay. And so
what can you do in 30 minutes on your marks, get set, go?
You can do lots of things. Now this is kind of what I've heard from, because I talked to 3 different people in Georgia. And then I also heard that some people were like, I didn't actually know that this were the rules. And I didn't. So I've gotten a lot. There's lots of mixed messaging, because also when you go to the state board, you actually can't see. And they're like, well, how did you hear that? And they're like, well, I heard from somebody else who heard from.
It's a game of grapevine.
Yeah, it's like a game of like phone tag.
You know what's a really bad idea is getting your information about if you can open from the grapevine. But also, here's a question I have, and I don't know if you've spoken about this with the people you talk to. How does this affect your liability insurance?
Well, that's a great question, because I asked a couple of people and I was like, well, so have you talked to your liability insurance? And each person was like, no. Well, the question is, can you actually get a hold of your liability insurance?
Right.
So that's a good question. I actually tried to call mine.
Were they around?
Nobody's picking up the phone.
Because, I mean, that's just, I don't know the answer, but I think these are questions to ask. Like, you know, if there's an order and here are the regulations and something happens, your insurance company could say, well, you weren't following the rules and we're not paying, you know? So it's definitely something.
What are the rules?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Nobody knows.
Questions to ask. Questions to ask.
Exactly. So definitely things to think about. So I also talked to Arizona is getting ready to start. Okay. And Arizona actually has much better like rules laid out. Straight up. They have like incredibly tight rules that are lined up, very easy to understand. Their board has got their stuff on tight. Their rules be crazy. They're things like they're things like, and this is my favorite one. You need to have 45 minutes between clients for the air to be clean.
Based on what science? Oh my God. Oh my
right.
gosh.
And so this is what I've heard from, once again, I've had 2 conversations with people from Arizona, and I'm like, well, where did you hear it? And they're like, well, we were informed. This is how we were told. We got an email in our inbox, which, by the way, I'm from California. I received an email from the state board essentially telling me that I just can't work. And that we'll have regulations coming to me for when I open. So we'll see how that goes.
I don't know about that.
But so there are definitely rules and regulations. I've talked to a couple doctors now, but what they think about these rules and regulations, and most of them are like, these are crazy. In fact, the idea that you're having to wear these shields on the face are actually ridiculous and not useful. If doctors needed shields, we'd be wearing them in surgical units, which we're not.
And the thing, too, I think this will be the argument, and still, it's like, well, what about the research, which can't come out this quickly? And everybody is just like, well, I heard this, and everything.
It's just a game of telephone.
Yes, this is so frustrating. This is also why I just want to stay locked in this room. Maybe for the rest of time, it feels more sane. I don't know.
Or you just kind of go out and you're just like, I am taking it by. So one of my favorite conversations that I had was with somebody who's in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And she was like, how we're handling things is we have a person who comes in and we actually sit them down and we have what we call a conversation of care. And the conversation of care is, first of all, how have you been doing? What's going on with you? How are you been feeling? What brings you in specifically today? And what is going to make you feel safe being with us? Okay. Smart. And they find out, like, do you feel you need a mask? Do you feel we need a mask? You know, and it comes down to what they feel that they need in the room to feel comfortable.
Yeah. It's like a risk assessment, and let the client guide it.
Right. And then they actually have them sign a form saying, I agreed to these things, and the person who's giving that, the technician, agrees to those things as well, because the technician has to be comfortable with whatever the decision was made. And she goes, and that's how we decided to do it. What?
Every time?
Every time, because it can change as a scale.
Yeah.
Maybe you're more scared. Maybe you're less scared. Maybe you weren't feeling okay. And she goes, every time they come in, they take their temperature, and they ask them, you know, those questions, like, were you near anybody who was sick? Did you feel, you know, blah, all the questions that you should answer, you know, beforehand. And she's like, that has worked very well for them, because she's like, sometimes they'll be like, you know, maybe I shouldn't be here. And they'll be like, that's okay. And then they just let them go home without paying a fine.
Yeah. Well, that's smart. Just like slows the whole process down.
Because some people are just really excited to get out and be talking to people too. They just they find that they just want a field trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, and I'm like, well, how did you feel about the fact that somebody has now taken up your valuable time and not paid you for that time? And she's like, they're clients. They're not taking any new clients. They're only taking existing clients. They're being very careful about who they're taking. And she's like, we just have to let them go. And it's just customer care. And that's why they're calling it like a care assessment.
I like that idea. But it is, I mean, and that's also, one thing that we want to touch upon today is whether it's 10 minutes between people or 45 minutes between people, the amount of cleaning, like there will be less clients in your facility no matter what. And so taking care of the people who are currently there is just as important as ever, if not more.
Right. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So that's a great segue, Alex. So let's talk about the fact that one of the things that everyone is talking about is how much time it is now taking in treatment with people, whether it's bringing them in, the time between, the time to clean up and prep. Everything is taking at least double time, which means you're cutting your time in half to make money, but you're still taking just as much time in treatment, right? And that means we are now making less income. And so you have to kind of think about for yourself. You're like, I'm super excited. I'm going back to work. Yay. But you are now going to be making potentially less money unless you think about a couple things. You need to think about whether you should be charging more for your services, whether you should be charging for like hazard pay, essentially, because you are now working a job where you are in danger. Okay. And if you do not feel comfortable raising your prices, and that's okay if you don't, okay, we are working at a time where people might not be able to afford more. That's okay. Then if you need to change your menu, because you also might need to accommodate in places where you can only do 30-minute treatments, or maybe you don't need to be in a room with them as long, because being in a room gives you more time with them. So maybe you need to walk out of a treatment room while they're masking, while they're under the LED, less contact.
Right.
Think about different services that you can provide where you actually have distance of care. So there are those things that you can do, but also can you increase the amount of service you give them by decreasing the amount of money it's going to cost you to do that service? Okay. Because these are hard times, guys, and these are hard choices to make. And so when it comes to, we've talked about this before, that I call it when you increase your menu, you change your menu and it becomes not an apples to apples menu, but an apples to oranges. You change your menu completely and you call it the new menu for the new time or whatever.
The new menu. The new normal. Something about this, I'm having a visceral reaction. Like my eyes are just getting so itchy just even thinking about all this stuff. My body's like, no. So I'm not crying.
It's all right. It's all right. Video. Well, Alex, so you work at a gym.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know what you think is going to be happening with something like this at a gym.
Yes.
Because you teach at a gym.
Yes. So also interesting things to think about. The class that I teach uses a lot of props. So I teach in the yoga studio. Everybody at the gym I teach at, it's higher end. They provide all things, meaning a client walks in, they pull the yoga mat that has been cleaned, hopefully off a rack. They pull their yoga blocks, they pull their strap, they grab their therapy balls from a box that's in the room all the time. They lay down and we do the class. I don't see any of that happening. And so I am fully prepared to not be on the schedule anymore, or on the schedule in a very different capacity that I'm still not sure what it looks like, because what I do does use props. And this gym only offers classes in the whole chain, so like you can't have one location that has unique classes. So I can't say, I'm going to teach this class if it's not available at all the locations. And then also in the same gym chain as a client, one of my favorite classes that I go to every week typically has 25 people in a room. We are maybe 2 feet apart, breathing hard, sweating, using equipment. We're not sharing equipment, but we are using equipment that is available for use by all. And that's what, I've been thinking about too. Like, I've been working out in my garage. Do I really need to go to the gym just to put a mask on, just to work out with this trainer? Like, I don't know. And so as far as people who just do, the machines and they're just out there in the gym, I think it will be easier to just go back and like, oh, the treadmills are further spaced out, or there's only one person per station. Like I can see that working out and, limiting the amount of people in the gym at any given time. But for those of us who either like or are in group exercise, I don't know. Definitely, they're going to be limiting the amount of people who are in the room at any given time, which at this gym chain, you have to sign up through an app anyway. So that's an easy fix. But then there's got to be somebody like managing that,
Right. And more cleaning staff, way more cleaning staff.
Way more cleaning staff. But as far as like the yoga studio and my class, like, I don't know. And even if I were to be going into a yoga studio, like, I would be taking my own blanket. I'd be taking my own blocks. I'd be taking my own props because I know that they're my dirty,
Right, right.
Not just like whatever the yoga studio has. So I don't know. I don't know when it's going to open. I know because before things shut down, one day it was, okay, there's Lysol, just spray everything down before class. And then I was like, yeah, so these are balls people are rolling all over their bodies. Are you sure? And then like less than 24 hours later, it was, okay, no props. Can you still teach? And I was like, sure. And then it was just like shut down all the way. So
right.
I think, for all of us too, it's sort of like it remains to be seen. And because there is no license for yoga, like in any state, maybe New York, but I mean, definitely not here in California. Wild West doesn't even come close to the wide variety of random shit you're going to get when you walk into a gym or yoga studio.
Right. It's totally true. And I also think you touched on a really good point about the idea that there's also this, I think there's this 3 levels of things that are happening with people's self-care as well. There are going to be the people who are like, I'm just afraid to go back. Yeah. Right. I have this just fear of just going back and being near people, around things. And then you have these people who are like, I'm not afraid of that, but I need assurances. Yeah. Right. And I'm going to be super careful and I need assurances. Yeah. So like I need to see the cleaning and I need to have my own gear and I need to make sure that there's spaces and I want to make sure that you are doing the things that need to be done. Mm-hmm. Right. And then you have the people who are just not going to be able to afford it because this has wiped out people's income.
That's interesting. I was on another call today with some fellow entrepreneurs, many of whom are in either the coaching space, some are speakers, and so their income severely wiped out because all of these live events aren't happening, and online businesses. And the thing that I keep thinking of too, 20%, or I think it's 16%. It's probably going to be higher once the jobs report comes out, but that's
jobs report came out today, 16.3%.
Right. Unemployment.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that, what is it, like 85?
Yeah.
85% of people are still working.
Right. That in some capacity, but it could be reduced.
Right. So I think also I just want to point that out because I think it's really easy to, snuggle into this idea. Well, like nobody has money right now. I don't know. When there are a lot of people who are still working and still getting paid their full stuff.
There are definitely people still working.
Yeah. So just take that and just throw it away.
There are definitely people still working. There are definitely still people working. We're like I'm still working, but I'm at seriously diminished capacity.
Right. Yeah. And I think that.
And I know that there are a bunch of people who are also still working at seriously diminished capacity.
Yeah.
So I don't count as unemployed, but I was making $16,000 a month, and now I'm making $400 a week.
Right. I know. It's all.
I know.
Sticky, icky.
But we can all hope that it comes back a bit. But we'll see how it all goes. I'm curious. But they're going to be. But that mentality is still there, and when that mentality of what is it like less poverty is out there.
Right. Well, and there's also, I mean, just to your thing of like, there's people who are going to be afraid to go out. There's people who are going to be, I'll go out if I can see it being safe. And then the people who are watching documentaries on YouTube.
What? I mean, the documentary is amazing. What are you talking about? I mean, I know that you're watching some good ones.
I mean, I'm not even watching the documentary. And even like when it's like being talked about on Facebook, I'm like, oh gosh. Oh gosh. So, yeah, I mean, and that's also the other interesting thing. And one thing I'll say, I've noticed too, just like as far as where people are at, are we 8 weeks in? Is that how?
Yeah, we're 8 weeks in. We're 8 weeks.
And we're definitely like 60.
And for some people, we're 10. For some people, we're 10. It depends on how like long.
Yeah.
If you were at very height, you're like 10, I think.
I didn't see a single person on my walk this morning wearing a mask.
No, we're over it. It was like 3 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, where people were like, I'm over it.
Yeah, so
I am over this.
But here's, what's the interesting thing? I'm still wearing mine, but I'll pull it down when I don't see
You just
people.
leave it like your nose. You're like, I just don't want to spit on people now.
I just can't breathe. So yeah, no, it'll be really interesting. And I think too, I'm just thinking like, I don't know. And I think that's the thing too, is like, we don't know. And everything we're talking about, like, it's definitely things to think about, because if you just continue to proceed forward of just like, well, I hope this works out, you're going to be fucked. Right. I mean, you just
plan.
Yeah, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to have thought about how it could possibly go and what you need to be prepared to do.
Right. And this is when I know for me, like we had talked way back right before this happened about how I planned for a recession and how I dealt with the writer's strike. And for me, this right here, this conversation is where I was when the writer's strike happened, which if you did not listen to the episode, guys, go back. It's still valid right now. We're about to talk about the exact same things that I'm talking about right now. So these are things that you need to start thinking about to stay in business. And I'm going to be this is going to be very, very important. So get your pen and paper out. I mean it. Listen to this episode a couple of times. I'm not messing with you. This is how I stayed in business. Literally how I stayed in business. Alex, she's in business right now. She's kicking ass and taking names. So pay attention to things that she's doing. If you're not watching her feed, if you're not paying attention, she is doing the things that you need to be doing online as well. This is what you need to be doing to keep your store open. But you should be like thinking about being online, because this is the future. Okay. So this is the now. The future is paying attention to Alex. All right. It's true. And you could be doing both at once. Yep. You can literally live both paths. All right. You don't have to be doing just one thing. You can do both. So
diversifying income anyways is like, even my best friend Bezos is going to tell you that.
He knows. I mean, he's taken over the world. And look, he started as a skinny man. Now he's like this buff guy you can't recognize. He knows. All right. So you need to be thinking right now about a couple things. One, I say running a lean business, but it's a shoestring business. Okay. So you need to be spending as little money as humanly possible. All right. You need to be using everything that is in your office and not ordering anything. Like if you're like, I want to spend, don't spend. Don't spend. So I need you to think of yourself. Like I need you to give yourself a mean CEO on top of you. Okay. You need to have. So Alex, who's your momager? Talk to me about your momager.
My momager?
Talk to me about your momager.
It's like the voice of reason when you emotionally like, well, I need this. And then my momager, who actually is my mom manager, is like, but do you really? Like, come on. And then you're like, oh no, I guess you're right. It's like the person who takes the wind out of your sails. I love my mother. I hope she's not listening. I do. I love her. And you need that, especially as entrepreneurs. We tend to be the dreamers, the schemers. And I do need somebody to take the wind out of my sails so I can be like, oh, wait, you know what? You're right. That's a great idea.
Right. Also, she's the person, because I've had these conversations with you and you'll be like, I'm not allowed to do that right now.
Oh yeah. I'm not allowed to buy.
I can't do
jack shit.
I don't. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to make sure that you have that person in your life who, even if it's yourself, but you split that person off, or you give somebody that job in your life if you need to give that person the reins. And they don't have to have the reins forever. You can give them but like, I'm giving you the reins now, but I'm going to take them back. Okay. But give them amount of time. Be like, until the end of the year. Okay. And until the end of the year, I need you to be the person who's my no man. Not my yes man, my no man. The person who's like, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to spend that. You don't get to do it. I'm sorry. There's got to be another way. And they say no to every freaking thing you want to do that requires money.
Yep.
And it's terrible. And they're the person. So they're the person who sits over you and is like, when you're like, but I really need to place an order. And they're like,
I mean, don't you have that product on your shelf that you didn't sell from last year? It's not expired yet. Do you really?
I mean, can't you pull like one of your testers off and use those instead? Are you sure? Are they bad? Are you sure they're bad? Wait.
Do they smell bad yet?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay. I mean, it's not the perfect item? Tough shit. You're going to use it anyways.
I think
have you given water facials yet? Because you better.
Things are okay. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. And I think too, like collectively, everybody is like okay with that because they just want something that's not being at home inside their house.
Right. This is how it needs to be. And the ideas that the creative ideas that you're going to have are creative ideas about using the shit on your shelf, the shit in your back room. Mm-hmm. You need to think about emptying your space. You want to look around and be like, I don't have anything to use right now. And you want to be like, everything is empty. It's a fire sale.
Yeah.
Because I want you to imagine that in 2 months, you are out of business. I don't want you to be out of business. But if you were, would you be able to shut your doors and know that there was nothing left in your office? It's a hard place to think about. It's not because you are going to be out of business, but what if all of a sudden we were in COVID time again and you needed to shut your doors again?
Yeah, it's very, very possible.
Right? That's the space you need to think about. I might have to shut my doors again. I need to make sure that all the money is in my bank and not sitting on my shelves, not sitting in my retail space. I need to run with as little money as possible sitting around. Okay? Which means that you need to think about your retail shelves as empty as possible. No more testers. Your back bar, nothing new. Everything goes. Everything goes. In fact, if you need to test something, it comes off your back bar. So little jars is what it goes out. Little Ziploc bags, whatever. What's the other good ideas? When at that time, I moved everything to companies who had no minimums. So I could be like, oh, yeah, you need 2 products. I just want to purchase 2 products. Person's buying the product. Cool. Thanks for paying for it. I'll ship it to you. It's safer that way.
Yeah. Well,
right?
You're just buying what you need.
Yeah, you just buy exactly what you need. That's it. Mm-hmm. So, Alex, I know you do this with like T-shirts and you've done this with your balls.
Don't even get me started on the T-shirts. They are sitting there because I didn't follow any of your rules. Yeah, no, the membership, I just send people T-shirts because I'm trying to like move product and just get rid of it. The problem I'm running into now is I'm running out of smalls and mediums.
So you'd be like discounts for people who are larger.
I mean, I might, honestly, I was thinking about this, is just do like a $5 sale on like social or something. Like, please buy my stuff. Yeah, because so what I have shifted to do, all the things that you're saying, and I'm realizing like, oh, lower minimums and only buying from companies and suppliers that have lower minimums, buying what I know I'm going to be using. Like I'm not keeping stock. So, one thing I do ship product. Thankfully, my product doesn't go bad. But I typically buy based on the number of people I know are going to be coming in, which I can't anticipate now just because of where I'm at. Or I wait till they come in and then I buy it and then I ship it out, for all those same like, where's the cash? There's not cash, And also, I mean, just think of, excuse me. So I've been broke for like a while now. Definitely like the last year. So think like you're broke.
Right. Think you like your
essentials.
And if you are, then you know how to do this already. You're like, girl, I don't have to listen to this. I already know what this is. Okay.
I mean, even down to like people like, oh my God, I have to do my own nails. And I'm like, girl, I've been doing my own nails because I've been broke and it's okay. So like even things like that around your own self-care and paying attention to like, where can I cut corners every single place? Because it's going to make it more comfortable. It's going to be so much better to like not be worried about where the next thing is coming because you haven't overextended yourself,
Right. And it's going to be hard. Okay. It's going to be hard. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I was actually listening to a really good speaker the other day, and he said something that resonated so well with me. He's like, the hard times are hard, and that's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And anybody who tells you different is a liar. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, no, totally true. The hard times are hard. And so this is going to be those hard times. But if you make it through, remember that you will survive this and you'll thrive later.
Yeah. Well,
so it's going to be okay.
I also want to say too, like, I'm sure, like, if you just hit pause, and I know this feels like the sky is falling, because it kind of is, and like, this is terrible and it's scary. And what you really need is courage, right? Yeah. Have there been other things that have happened to you in your life that were way worse than this? Whether it's the loss of a family member, major injuries, something has probably happened to you in your life that sucked terribly.
Yeah.
And you're still here.
Perspective.
And so, yes, it sucks right now, and it's hard, and we're not sure where it's going and what's happening. But you've been through hard things. You've done hard things. You've done that long, lonely walk through the desert, and there is water on the other side. I don't know when, I don't know where, but you just have to know that it's coming. And like that perspective shift and like showing up in that way. This is for right now. I'm going to make these decisions, and I'm going to make another decision tomorrow. Like, we don't need to be worried about 6 months from now. Like, just stay right now. What is the next best decision I can make? And maybe I'm prepared for a week out, but like, stop worrying about months from now. It's not helpful.
Do now. That's such a good life lesson right there, Alex. Right there is such a good life lesson, because we do tend to spin out and be like, but later, just live the now. Mm-hmm. Just live the now, guys. And I want to make sure that when we're living the now, which is important, that we are paying attention to both sides of it. So we are making sure that we are living a leaner life, and that we are using less and paying attention and saying no to spending, but that we are also at the same time that we are thinking about increasing our revenue. Okay. You need both sides. Mm-hmm. So, and how you're going to think about increasing your revenue is, if you remember, and this happened during the recession, if you remember that at one point in time, you looked at your peanut butter jars and you're like, is this lighter? What happened to my peanut butter? And if you turned it over, there was like this giant bubble thing at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, there's less freaking peanut butter in here. Do you think I'm stupid? And they're like, no, but it's the same size jar. So, shh.
It's fine. You're just going to eat almond butter anyways.
Right. And then what they did with ice cream is they injected air into it, so it wasn't as dense.
So much air.
Right. But like, it was the same size carton. So when you're thinking about what you can do that like is going to kind of be like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. Okay. To your clients, this is the things that you're thinking about you can do. You're going to continue to give them good value. What do they need? What's your clients actually looking for from you that they don't actually even know that you provide, that has nothing to do with money, right? So what are the things that clients are actually looking for right now? They are looking for you. They're looking for your social time. They're looking for your touch, which you're going to be careful with. You need to ask them what they actually want. So that's why I really liked at the beginning of this conversation, the person who did that kind of customer care intake.
Yeah.
What do they want from you? Because it might not be that they need giant lifting facials right now with all the money, right? Because actually that's going to potentially drop their immune system and whatever. Who knows what they actually need? But what they might need is actually something completely different from you that costs you very little. You want to figure out how you can give them the cheapest something for the most value, right? Because we need to be spending less and giving them what seems like just as much or more. Okay. Because we do need to make sure we're giving them as much customer care as possible, because they do need it right now, because we want to keep these customers. So changing menu increases potentially, you might be able to increase your prices just a tiny bit. It's possible. I mean, people understand what's happening right now. You can see what you do.
Here, a question to you about that. Because one of the things I did, I responded to what my clients wanted. Somebody sent me a message on Instagram. Hey, can you teach a class, a virtual class? And I was like, oh, yes, I can. Strategically, I looked at my calendar. I knew that 3 weeks from that date, I would be starting a launch. So opening the doors. So I was like, cool, this is lead generation. This is bringing people in the door who might be interested. So it made sense. But one silver lining of this whole COVID silver lining, people have been asking for donations. And I made $70 the first class I taught. I would have never made that much getting in my car, driving for a half hour to the gym, teaching a class, then coming home and losing 3 hours of my day. Like I made more money at home in my office on the floor next to the litter box.
Yeah.
So if somebody is maybe like, I can't raise my pricing for whatever reason, maybe it's the type of clientele they serve or however, like, do you see a like hazard pay donation box or like something like that where it was on a like customer basis, like they could decide how much or something like that? Like, what do you think about that?
This is a great idea. Think creatively outside the box for yourself, right? This is a place where you can be vulnerable to your clientele. My friend Lori, who owns a bookshop in Beaverton, Oregon, she is desperately trying to hold on to those bookstores. She's doing better in business right now than she's ever done because she's gone out to her community and just been like, straight up, guys, I could lose this bookshop at any minute. And she's been vulnerable and just been like, I need help. I need you to help me survive. And the community has banded together and helped her. And she's doing better in business than she's ever done.
That's awesome.
Right? And the reason is not because she's like, I need a handout, but she's just like straight up like, guys, this is what's really happening to small businesses. And no effing around. We need help. We need your help. And it's true. We need their help, all of us. So I think sometimes that until you tell your customers what's going on, they don't really understand. You know, I know that my customers have reached out and they're like, the ones who are in business for themselves, they're like, how can I help you? But some other customers, they don't really know what's happening until you're like, hi guys, I'm struggling. Right. And it's not asking for a handout. It's just saying, hey, if you can help in these ways, please do. Yeah. They want you to be in business. They don't want you to go out of business. They don't know what to do if you go out of business. They're like, I have to go down the street. This is terrible.
I mean, it's true. Definitely that vulnerability, just be honest, be open. And don't be afraid to ask for things, because I think because we all are experiencing this at the same time, people are more willing to help out, you know?
Right. And this is a really good time. And Alex has said this a couple of times. And so I'm going to reiterate something that I find is very valuable knowledge from Alex. This is a time to really reevaluate what is important to you. Okay. This is a time to think about, is this what I want to be doing? Is this aligning with my purpose? And for me, from a business side, this is when you look at the stuff that you carry that literally is on your shelves, that is stuff that sits around, and be like, I don't sell this. Dig into your numbers and be like, this is not serving me. I don't even like this effing line. Right. Yeah. And it's not a time to bring in something new. I know you might want to, but it's a time to just say hasta la vista.
Yeah. Right. Knowing your numbers, so important. Like, seriously, make all the spreadsheets right now.
Yeah. Dig into them. And if you don't know how to dig into your numbers, ask for help. Okay. The only thing I would tell you if you need to bring in a new product line is you look at a product line that has zero investment needed. So you could go to a product company and be like, oh, you have zero minimums? Great. I don't have to invest anything in this company to bring in a product line. Awesome. Yeah. That's great. Oh, you drop ship? So I can literally just be like, I need to place an order. It goes. Beautiful. That is not an investment in a company. That's just you're trying something out. Right. And there are lots of companies that are doing this right now because they know that this is the future. They know right now that we're super screwed. So this is how it is. So you can try that.
Add one thing too. I just got this idea that you listening might have an idea to do something, but it's not ready yet, or it's not done yet. You can charge for something and deliver it later. Have you heard of Kickstarter, right? That's their whole business model, is that you pay up front and then the item is delivered later, or maybe it's not delivered later. So if you have this idea, I want to make this guide, or I want to do this video, or I want to do this service, or I want to do this thing, that would be great to like flesh out the idea and then go to your clients. Hey, here's what I'm doing and I would love your help. And then have them invest in that way. So, you can take notes from other things like Kickstarter and how their model is built, but don't be afraid to take money before the thing is done or before the thing is ready. Just tell them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Hey, it's going to be ready a month from now, like whatever that timeline is, just tell them, here's when it's going to be ready. Let me know if you want in. Here's what you're going to help provide. And here it is. And you'll probably be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. Like, I'm creating something right now, and I probably should have done that because it might have gotten done sooner. Because also, there's nothing like having money for something already to make a deadline.
I know, right?
To be like, oh my God, well, I guess I've already sold this to a bunch of people and they want it. So I best build that crap. Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I definitely use external motivation and other people as deadlines because there's nothing like somebody else. Knowing, for me at least, I know your rebel might be different. For me, knowing that I might disappoint somebody will keep me up at night. So I'd rather just finish the project.
Yeah. I mean, every kind of thing. I don't think for me disappointment of people, but knowing that like I have somebody to deliver it to, being like, that's motivation. Because I'm like, well, I have somebody to deliver it to, then they'll think it's awesome and they should have it.
Yeah, I'm like, please don't hate me.
So different places. Being like, I can't wait to give them something. And you're like, I will disappoint.
I want to let them down. Can you tell I'm an overachiever perfectionist? I'm like, I'm recovering. I'm not fucking recovering. No, I'm in it to win it.
This is why Alex and I work so well together.
Oy. I mean, side note too, just like looking at perfectionism, I was like, I can't possibly be a perfectionist. I'm not perfect. And then I was like, oh no, that's because you are a perfectionist.
I listened to this amazing speaker, and I'm actually going to I'm going to see if I can find his note real quick. I listened to this amazing speaker the other day, and he had this quote on perfectionism, which was so good. He said, perfectionism is the bastion that holds you back, and is the perception of success that is not real.
Remember when I told you to stay in the now and I don't take my own advice?
I also really like, I literally wrote like so many things down that he said. I was like, that is so good. That is so good. I'm like, we should do, we'll probably, Alex and I will flush this out. We'll have like a whole conversation about it and probably do a whole episode about it because it was just so good. My other favorite thing that he said was that you should always remember that the people who invest in you are not stupid.
Dude.
Right?
Dude. Ooh, that just hit me right here.
Right? So powerful. I was like, damn.
Actually, I was writing that in my journal this morning too. Is like, even like for all the people who said yes and invested in me and believed in me before I believed in myself.
Right. Because he was talking and somebody asked a question. He's like, well, let's start from assuming that the people who invest in you are not stupid. And I was just like, damn, it's just like a throwaway. And I was like, oh my God. So if you're out there and you're listening, let's imagine that the people out there who are investing in you are not stupid.
No.
Right. And if they chose to invest in you, they knew what they were doing and you were worthy.
And you were always worthy, even before they invested in you, Pia.
Yeah. So there you go. I know. I thought I was also very like, oh, damn. Okay.
It's like he just reached in and like wrapped his fingers around my heart and gave it a gentle bleep.
I know. Okay. So I wanted to make sure I just got back to, I had a couple more things I wanted to make sure I talked about. So we talked about ditching expensive product lines and investing, drop shipping for selling cheaper products. Can you double your prices? Potentially, probably not. So in that case, you're going to try to really reduce your product costs.
You're going to fluff up your ice cream.
Yep. That's what you're going to do. The future of our industry is going to have a lot of weird constricting policies. So you're going to do what Alex said, and you're going to try to make sure that you stick to it, and you're going to call your liability insurance. You're going to try to get in touch with them, and you're going to try to get the DL on that. Right?
Down low?
Yeah, the down low on that. You're trying to get that for the cool kids out there.
The 411?
You're trying to get the information on that. I also did want to tell the story about a person I talked to who actually got all the monies. So she actually has financial help. She got a grant from the government.
Whoa.
And she's getting unemployment plus the $600. And she's an esthetician who runs a spa.
Nice.
The hardest thing was she didn't get it until after she got to go back to work. So she's getting it retroactively. She's getting all the unemployment and everything retroactively.
Wow.
But she did receive everything. So people are getting stuff finally. So
yeah, I know the PPPPs that we talked about previously, that those started coming in too. And yeah, I got a disaster loan grant.
Beautiful. I mean, the grants are forever, so enjoy that money.
Oh, I mean, I'm just turning around and paying it to the state of California. And can we please talk about how to register your business in another state in another episode?
Oh, by the way, I have a lawyer who's coming in to talk to us about trademark.
Ooh.
And she knows somebody who can talk to us about registering your stuff in other states and such, your businesses. So those will be conversations coming up on Skinfessional. I know, I'm very excited about that. I think those are the major things. Those are the major points. But like I said, you should re-listen to this episode. It's a big, heavy episode, lots and lots of stuff. This is literally the stuff that I had to do to keep my business afloat and survive the last kind of like recession and stuff. So pay attention.
I want to add one thing to that too.
Yeah.
As I was jumping on top. If you're feeling overwhelmed, like there's too much to do, grab a piece of paper, sit down, start writing it out. Anytime you can get it out of your brain and onto a piece of paper, you can make sense of what's actual fact and what's not fact, find that there's a lot of it that's nonsense that you're freaking out about. And it will help you really process what your next steps need to be. So I have 2 assignments for you. Number 1, map out where you can cut your expenses, right? And number 2, if you were to create something, what would it be? Sky's the limit. Just map it out, see if it's even possible, sit with it for a couple days. Maybe you decide, I don't really want to do that. Okay, fine. But I think that there are ideas, money generating ideas sitting up there in your noggin right now. And this is a great time to just sit and see, can I pull something out? Can I do something so that then I can go back to my clientele, tell them a great, super freaking awesome idea that I'm super excited about and get some money coming in to go build that thing.
Totally. And I'll add to that. Remember that although we're talking about spa stuff and ideas or whatever for your business, if you have a great idea that has nothing to do with this business, you can do that too. Yes. If you're like, I crochet and I make Yoda pillows.
Baby Yoda, make all the Baby Yoda pillows.
One of my clients does that, by the way, and they're adorable. Oh, if you do that,
send her my way. I have someone she can connect with to sell.
Oh my God. I totally have a client. She'd make some. Yeah. So if you do that, dude, do that. Like, there are so many other things you could be doing. You might have a talent for something that this is not even this right now. Okay. So, but do it.
And maybe, so here's an addendum to your homework assignment. Think 5 years from now. Like, what would be the ideal version? What would you be doing? What would it look like? How much would you be working? Like, what would be going on? Because if you do that and you find that it's not what you're doing now, how can you get to that version?
Yeah. Share it with us. We want to know.
All the writing assignments. Get your piece of paper. Get your pen. It's going to be good. I'm proud of you. I know this is hard. We all are having to dig deep and find our courage and remind ourselves that we have been through hard stuff before. And this is hard and it's scary and we don't know what's happening, but we're going to make it. And even if your business doesn't make it, you are going to make it.
Make it. Mm-hmm. And as I always say, the hardest times make for the strongest people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we're all going to make it through it. Survive and thrive, people. It's going to all work out. It will. All right, guys. I'm pretty sure we've talked about all the good stuff today.
So send us questions. Send us your brainstorms on social media. You can find us at Skinfessional or at Your Skin Fitness Expert or at Hala Famala.
Yes. Also, I want to say that I'm going to add to the show notes, I have a list from one of my friends of all of the kind of things that he recommends that you do to kind of stay safe in like kind of the environment. He has been traveling through Asia through all of this, and it's like his list of stuff that he recommends that you do. And my friend who works at the CDC, CDC in Germany, approved this list.
Oh, good.
I will be adding this to the show notes. Yeah. All right, so we have a Skinfessional box, and the number is 818-473-5277. So, until next week.
Keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.